It's 6:30, so I will call our meeting to order. And Mrs. Sweet, would you call the roll this evening?
Yes, sir.
Thank you very much.
Mr. Babcock?
Here.
Mrs. Sweet, here. Mr. Bear?
Here.
Mr. Avery?
Here.
Mr. Hannah?
Here.
Mr. Whitaker? Here.
And we do have a quorum for tonight's meeting. If you would please join me in pledging allegiance to our flag.
I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
This is the regular session of the Enon Village Council, and this is Tuesday, May 9th, 2023. Are there any additions to our agenda?
I'd like to make a motion to excuse Mr. Whitaker for the evening.
Second.
So a motion by Mr. Hannah, second by Mr. Avery, and would you call the roll, please?
Mr. Babcock?
Yes.
Mrs. Sweet, yes. Mr. Bear?
Yes.
Mr. Avery?
Yes.
Mr. Hannah?
Yes.
And that motion is approved. Let's go into our minutes of the Tuesday, April 25th, 2023 meeting. There are a couple of corrections. Thank you, Mrs. Sweet, for finding those on page 3. So if you go to under Mayor Howard, right there in the middle of the page, and that should say West Enon Church of God on Snyder Road instead of Stein, so we'll make that change. And then down under committee reports, Brenda Sweet, that second sentence, an updated policy has been, and that should say given to all to review.
And we
So-
also have under Chief Holler, P and R should be P with the symbol and R.
All right, let's take that out and put the and symbol in.
It's called an ampersand.
What's it called?
An ampersand.
I knew that. All right. Are there any other corrections to these minutes?
Firearm training would be one word.
Oh, firearm itself, right.
We'll connect those two. Anything else?
I would just put that we had an auto theft at Speedway. I don't necessarily think the date one's out. Yeah.
All right, we'll add that on to the end of your report. Auto theft was reported at Speedway.
Oh, and it wasn't recovered on Conway. Sorry.
Okay, so Mike, how should that read?
We had a vehicle theft at Speedway. It was recovered about 4 hours later, period.
Okay. So we'll delete all of that. Auto theft.
Axon body, just take out the word body, just cameras, cruiser cameras. Sorry, first time reading this. That's all I got.
All right, any other corrections? With those corrections, I would entertain a motion and a second to approve.
So moved.
Second.
Moved by Mr. Hannah, seconded by Mr. Bear. And call the roll, please.
Mr. Babcock?
Yes.
Mrs. Sweet, yes. Mr. Bear?
Yes.
Mr. Avery?
Yes.
Mr. Hannah?
Yes.
All right, those are approved with those corrections. Financial report, let's start out with the cash summary by fund. And that would be as of the end of April. General fund, $181,000. Street construction and maintenance, $70,000. And we will be transferring that $15,000 to pay down that federal grant of the negative 95. So that'll go to $80,000 when she makes that transfer. ARPA funds, $135,000. Police levy, $298,000. Water operating, $275,000. Contingency water, 110, for a total of $983,038.86. If you look on the revenue receipt status report, and on page 1, we've received about 50% of our anticipated revenues for the general fund. And again, the majority of that coming from our real estate taxes. If you go to page 2, street construction, maintenance, and repair, we received about 31%. Police levy, 47%. That's on page 3. And let's see, go to water operating on page 4, and we've received about 34%. Total of all funds on page 5, about 39% has been received. Appropriation status report for the general fund. If you look on page 2, we have spent approximately 30% of our appropriated funds in the first 4 months. Street construction and maintenance, about 28%. Going over to page 3, police levy, we spent about 31%. And on page, got to go all the way to page 5 on this one, about 33% has been spent from the water fund. Total of all funds, approximately 30%. And we have a bank reconciliation, and this would be for the month of April. And I would entertain a motion and a second to approve that bank reconciliation for the month of April.
So moved.
I'll second.
Moved by Mr. Bear, seconded by Mr. Babcock. And called the roll, please.
Mr. Babcock?
Yes.
Mrs. Sweet, yes. Mr. Bear?
Yes.
Mr. Avery?
Yes.
Mr. Hannah?
Yes.
Okay, that reconciliation has been approved, and I'll bring your attention to a resolution that should be in your packets regarding, if I can get to it here, our 2 mil general fund levy, which covers all of the expenses that we take out of the general fund, administrative, police department, streetlights. So this one is coming up for a renewal. It's for 5 years. First year of collection would be 2024, and that would go through 2028. First year of the levy would begin this year, 2023 through 2027. So if we go ahead and get this passed tonight as an emergency, Laura can get this into the auditor, and then the next piece of legislation deals with the actual, if I remember right, the actual amount of monies that we would be bringing in, but this is a 2-step process, and this is the first step. So I'm asking the council to pass this as an emergency tonight, and then we would come back hopefully at the next meeting with that second piece of legislation. So we would need to suspend that 3 reading rule.
I'll make a motion to waive the 3 reading rule.
I'll second.
Motion is made by Mrs. Sweet, seconded by Mr. Bear. Call the roll, please.
Mr. Babcock?
Yes.
Mrs. Sweet, yes. Mr. Bear?
Yes.
Mr. Avery?
Yes.
Mr. Hannah?
Yes.
And then I would need a motion and a second to approve this resolution of necessity for our 2 mil general fund levy.
So moved.
Second.
Moved by Mrs. Sweet, seconded by Mr. Avery. Any further discussion? Call the roll, please.
Mr. Babcock?
Yes.
Mrs. Sweet, yes. Mr. Bear?
Yes.
Mr. Avery?
Yes.
Mr. Hannah?
Yes.
And thank you very much. Attached to that, we have one appropriation change that we would make in the police levy. So that was on the back side, at least on mine it was, of that resolution of necessity. That says ARPA fund. That is a misprint. That would be the police levy fund. This would be 2901-110. and that does line up with the police levy under other. This would be an increase in appropriations of $8,000, and that would cover the dispatching services per that agreement that our chief explained to us at the last meeting. I entertain a motion and a second to approve.
So moved.
I'll second.
Moved by Mr. Avery, seconded by Mr. Babcock. Any discussion? Call the roll, please.
Mr. Babcock?
Yes.
Mrs. Sweet, yes. Mr. Bear?
Yes.
Mr. Avery?
Yes.
Mr. Hannah?
Yes.
Thank you very much. And does anybody have any items of communication this evening? All right. I think, Mrs. Sweet, you had, from your committee, you had minutes in here somewhere.
Yes, sir.
So I will turn it over to you if that's okay.
Sure. The Public Service Committee meeting was held May 2nd. Present were myself and council members on my committee, Jeremy Whitaker and Mr. Bear. Also, well, actually, all council was here, as well as Kevin Stiford and Chief Holler. I guess that included everybody. Topic of discussion was the compensation policy, and we have made a few changes in the wording and placement in the policy book, and as they've been retyped, we will go over those as a committee and very likely bring it to a vote next meeting. So right now, I need a motion to accept the minutes,
I make a motion to accept the minutes.
and I'll second them, and all in favor, aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Passed, sir.
That's the easiest minutes that have ever been passed. And again, thank you to the committee for the work you're doing on that particular topic. Let's move into the administrative. I know I skipped over there, Brenda, but I wanted to get that out of the way, to administrative. And unfortunately, Kevin is not able to be here this evening, but let's go over the mayor's court report.
99% of the time.
And this would be for the month of April. Total funds received, $1,810. Total to the state, $412.50. Total to the village of Enon, $1,381. Total dispersed again would be $1,810, right on the nose. Year to date, $7,570.32. So I would need a motion and a second to approve the mayor's court report for that month of April.
So moved.
I'll second.
Moved by Mr. Bear, seconded by Mrs. Sweet, and call the roll, please.
Mr. Babcock?
Yes.
Mrs. Sweet, yes. Mr. Bear?
Yes.
Mr. Avery?
Yes.
Mr. Hannah?
Yes.
Okay, thank you very much. Let's talk about Enon Xenia just a little bit in response to some questions that came from council and also out of our staff meeting. One of our previous staff meetings, Kevin sent an email out to Paul DeBeauty, who's basically the project manager, to highlight just a couple things. The 4th of July, they are aware of the fact that we would really like to have access from the school onto South Senior Street. And I think there is another meeting coming up this week, if I'm not mistaken, that's going to be emphasized. So right now, what we're trying to do is make sure that there's a path from that parking lot onto South Senior Street, so we don't have to line up. And I know there's a plan B, and I know everybody appreciates that, but if we can really convince them that we need that path, I think everybody would be a lot better off. So that's the plan of action from the village's standpoint. Completion of the project is still for November of 2023, and there had been some communication that indicated some things might be going over into next year, 2024, but there is hope that the project, the Ohio Public Works Commission project that we have teamed up with Clark County Engineers Department that would go from the intersection to this site of construction is all going to come together by the end of this year, and there would be one big paving project, and that's what we're hoping for, if they can stay on schedule or ahead of schedule. So it could be a late fall paving for that final coat, and we'll just have to see how it works out, but that's what we're hoping for. That's what they're shooting for as well. So those are the major updates from the engineer's office.
Are you emphasizing the Apple Butter Festival?
Apple Butter Festival has been mentioned in here as
Thank
well.
you.
So,
Thank you.
no problem.
Good.
Yeah, there's a ton of questions in here, but those were kind of the highlights.
Okay.
But sorry I left out apple butter though, so. All right. Any questions? All right. Chief, I'll turn it over to you. Good evening.
Good evening, Mayor. Good evening, Council. Good evening, residents. First topic agenda is this Friday, May 12th. Our circus is Culpeper Merriweather. Will be down at the Enon Park. 2825 Enon Road. Sorry, I was looking that up.
There you go.
The first show is at 5 p.m. Second show is at 7:30 p.m. Tickets are available up until, I believe, Thursday here at the front office. The ladies have them up there. And then after that, you can pay at the gate, cash only, and the price will be a little bit higher on each. They'll have a lion and a few things. Skeeter the Clown I went with, brought her in last week, went to the school with her, and we visited all the kids down out at Greenon, so it was interesting.
Good deal.
Next week, May 14th through the 20th, is National Police Week. That's celebrated everywhere. I just wanted to bring that to everybody's attention. And then the 2012 Dodge Charger out there with a Hemi in it, about 147,000 miles on it, has finally been stripped of everything that needs to be taken out of it. I finished that up today. So I'll get that with the village administrator. I guess they work with Gov Deals, and they'll come in and put that on the auction. But it is ready to go. It's setting out front.
It's been decommissioned.
It has been
Sorta.
decommissioned, and it runs like it does, right? So it's setting out there, and whoever's watching this, you can drive by out front and see it out in the front parking area, and it'll go up for auction whenever it gets sent on there. But as far as the Durango, I visited it down at P&R last week. They are still waiting on some parts, which I think anybody that's doing anything is waiting on parts. Once that gets done, it'll move down to Yipes and Stripes. Again, I'd like to have that by the Memorial Day Parade, but wishful thinking, I'll just keep my fingers crossed. But everything else is on target. That is all I have.
Okay. Questions for our chief?
Pretty quick.
All right. Thanks, Mike. Appreciate it. Any old or new business this evening? We do have an executive session that is listed, so I will take, I'll go out of order here. I'll take any comments from our public this evening. Any comments? Okay. And it is possible that when we come back into regular session, there could be some action by the council, just to let you know. I'm not sure how long we'll be in executive session, but at this time, I would entertain a motion in a second to enter executive session to discuss the employment and compensation of a village employee.
I'd like to make a motion that we go into executive session for the employment and compensation of an employee.
I'll second.
So motion made by Mr. Hannah, seconded by Mr. Bear, and call the roll, please.
Mr. Babcock?
Yes.
Mrs. Sweet? Yes. Mr. Bear?
Yes.
Mr. Avery?
Yes.
Mr. Hannah?
Yes.
Time 6:49.
Thank you. Let's see, what all do I need to take with me here? Got too many pieces of paper.